The words on my phone screen seemed to pulse with their own cruel heartbeat. "You're not worthy of coming to my engagement party." My throat constricted like someone had wrapped invisible hands around my neck. The familiar hum of my Nashville office suddenly felt deafening. The text was from Kevin, my own brother, dismissing me from the celebration I'd spent 3 months crafting down to every mason jar and fairy light. I pressed my palm against my desk, feeling the wood grain beneath my fingers as reality shifted. 3 months of late nights, vendor negotiations, venue scouting, all reduced to 5 words that cut deeper than any blade. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was reading this rejection surrounded by the very contracts that bore my signature, my professional reputation backing every detail of his perfect day. My name is Sophia. I'm 31 and an event coordinator who specializes in making other people's dreams come true. This is the story of how I learned to make my own dreams matter more. The sting of Kevin's dismissal transported me back to December, when he'd first asked for my help. We'd been at Mom's house for Sunday dinner, the smell of her famous pot roast filling the kitchen. He'd pulled me aside with that boyish grin I'd fallen for countless times before. "Soph, I need your magic touch," he'd said, explaining how Emma, his fiancée, wanted something elegant but approachable for their engagement party. "You know I'm hopeless at this stuff." I'd said yes immediately, my heart swelling with the chance to contribute something meaningful to my little brother's happiness. Over the following weeks, I'd thrown myself into the project with the same passion I brought to my paying clients. I'd secured the Riverside Ballroom downtown, with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Cumberland River. I'd negotiated with Marcus Chen, Nashville's most sought-after caterer, to create a Southern fusion menu. The decorative vision had consumed my evenings, hand-sketched table arrangements blending rustic charm with urban elegance. I'd worked with local artist Diana Rodriguez to create custom centerpieces, each one unique but harmoniously connected. The lighting designer, Tom Bradley, had spent hours with me, planning the perfect ambiance as sunset painted the river gold. Every decision was made with love, every detail crafted to make Kevin and Emma shine. I'd used my professional connections, my creative expertise, and yes, my own money, because family meant everything to me. Or so I'd thought. The first crack in my certainty came 2 weeks ago during a family barbecue at Dad's house. I'd been excitedly showing Emma photos of the centerpiece prototypes when I noticed her exchanging a look with Kevin. It lasted maybe 3 seconds, but something cold passed between them that made my stomach twist. "These are nice," Emma had said, her tone carrying the faint condescension of someone commenting on a child's art project. "But we might want something a bit more sophisticated for our crowd." Kevin had jumped in quickly, trying to smooth things over, but the damage was done. I'd seen that look before. The polite dismissal, the subtle suggestion that I wasn't quite operating at their level. I'd pushed the feeling aside, telling myself I was overthinking, that wedding stress made everyone hypersensitive. But now, staring at Kevin's text, all those small moments crystallized into devastating clarity. The way Emma had started responding to my vendor questions with increasing delay. How Kevin had stopped asking for updates, claiming he trusted me to handle everything. The way conversations went quiet when I joined family gatherings, as if I'd interrupted something important. My phone rang, jarring me from my spiraling thoughts. Mom's contact photo smiled up at me, and I answered with a hollow, "Hello." "Sophia, honey, I heard about the party situation." Her voice carried that careful tone she used when navigating family drama. "Kevin's just stressed. You know how he gets." The casual dismissal hit like a physical blow. "Mom, he told me I'm not worthy of being there. After everything I've done." "It's his day, sweetheart. Maybe it's better to just let this one go." Let it go. 3 months of my life, my professional reputation, my heart poured into making his moment perfect, and I should just let it go. I hung up without another word, my hands trembling as I set the phone down. The office felt too small suddenly, the walls pressing in as the full scope of my situation became clear. This wasn't just about a party invitation. It was about my place in my own family. Kevin had used my skills, my connections, my love for him, and then discarded me when I no longer fit the image he and Emma wanted to project. I opened my laptop and began scrolling through the vendor emails in my Kevin's Party folder. Dozens of confirmations, timeline adjustments, last-minute changes I'd managed seamlessly. Marcus had texted just this morning about final headcount numbers. Diana had sent photos of the completed centerpieces. Tom was scheduled to begin setup tomorrow morning. All of it coordinated by me. All of it dependent on my relationships, my reputation, my signature on contracts that legally bound me to ensure its success. They'd made me the architect of their celebration, then told me I wasn't welcome to witness what I'd built. The realization sparked something dangerous in my chest. Not rage, but something colder and more calculated. I picked up my phone and began typing, my fingers moving with steady precision. 3 hours later, I'd sent my final coordinating emails. Professional, courteous messages to each vendor, explaining that due to unforeseen circumstances, I would no longer be overseeing the event. Kevin Marshall would handle all remaining coordination directly. I provided his contact information and wished everyone well. Marcus called within minutes, confusion clear in his voice. "Sophia, what's going on? We're locked and loaded for tomorrow night." "Family complications," I said simply. "Kevin will reach out with any final details." "But you're the one who knows the timeline, the specific dietary restrictions, the setup preferences." "I'm sure he'll figure it out." Diana's text came next. "Girl, are you okay? This seems sudden." I didn't respond. Let them wonder. Let Kevin explain why his. Hopeless at this stuff, admission was about to become prophetic. By evening, my phone was buzzing with increasing frequency. First Kevin, his voice tight with panic. "Soph, what's this about you backing out? The vendors are all calling me." Then Dad, gruff and demanding. "Sophia, fix this. You're being childish." Emma, surprisingly, left the most telling message. "I know we've had our differences, but you can't abandon us now. Kevin doesn't know anything about event management." Their panic was revealing. They'd dismissed me, excluded me, told me I wasn't worthy. But now, faced with the reality of managing their own celebration, they suddenly needed me desperately. The irony was delicious. The next morning, I booked a flight to Miami, departing that afternoon. While they scrambled to salvage their engagement party, I'd be watching the sunset from South Beach, finally prioritizing my own peace over their expectations. After landing at Miami International that afternoon, I checked into my beachfront hotel and felt something loosen in my chest for the first time in months. The morning of the party, I was sipping café con leche at a beachside restaurant when the calls began in earnest. Kevin first, his voice cracking. "Sophia, please. The caterer doesn't know the serving timeline. The lighting guy is asking about dimmer settings. I don't know what any of this means." I let it go to voicemail, then another, and another. By noon, even Uncle Charles was calling, his usually jovial voice tense. "Honey, your dad's having a fit. Can't you just help them out?" I turned off my phone and ordered another coffee. Sarah Martinez, a photographer who'd worked several events with me, called me the following week with the full story of what unfolded at the Riverside Ballroom that evening. Without my coordination, the careful timeline I'd spent weeks perfecting collapsed within hours. Marcus arrived to find no one who could answer basic questions about serving order or guest preferences. The beautiful centerpieces Diana had created were placed randomly, destroying the visual flow I'd planned. Tom's lighting setup, calibrated for specific moments throughout the evening, remained static and harsh, without someone who understood the programming. Guests arrived to find lukewarm appetizers, mismatched table settings, and an overall atmosphere of confused improvisation. The sophisticated celebration Emma had envisioned became a case study in what happens when you dismiss the person holding everything together. Kevin and Emma's stress boiled over into public arguments, her blaming him for ruining everything, him defensive and overwhelmed. The fairy tale engagement party became a cautionary tale, whispered about in Nashville social circles for weeks afterward. My phone, when I finally turned it back on 3 days later, held 47 missed calls and dozens of texts ranging from pleading to furious to desperate. I deleted them all without reading. 3 days later, I flew back to Nashville, feeling centered and clear about my boundaries. The real confrontation came a week after I returned. Kevin appeared at my office unannounced, his usual confident demeanor replaced by something I'd never seen before. Genuine remorse mixed with dawning understanding. "Sophia, we need to talk." I looked up from my computer where I'd been working on a proposal for a new client, a wedding for people who actually wanted me there. "Do we?" He shifted uncomfortably, running his hands through his hair. "The party. It was a disaster. Emma and I were taking a break." He paused, his voice dropping. "Actually, she ended our engagement last week, said I'd shown her exactly who I prioritize when things get difficult." "I'm sorry to hear that." My voice was steady, professional. "Are you? Because I'm starting to think you planned this. You knew exactly what would happen when you walked away." I leaned back in my chair, studying my brother's face. "Kevin, I planned a party. You decided I wasn't worthy of attending it. I simply respected your wishes." "That's not—" "Look, we were under pressure. Emma's family, they have expectations. And I didn't meet them." "It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple." I stood, walking to the window that overlooked downtown Nashville. "You needed my skills, my connections, my expertise, but you didn't need me. There's a difference." For the first time in our adult lives, Kevin was speechless. The golden boy who'd always talked his way out of consequences, who'd relied on charm and family loyalty to smooth over his mistakes, had finally encountered a situation his smile couldn't fix. "I need you to know," I continued, "that when I walked away, it wasn't about revenge, it was about self-respect. You made a choice about my worth. I made a choice about yours." He left without another word, and I returned to my work. Over the following months, the story of the Marshall engagement party disaster became a quiet legend in Nashville event planning circles. Not as gossip, but as a reminder of why the people who make magic happen deserve to be treated with respect. Emma moved back to Atlanta within the month, and I heard through mutual friends that she began dating someone in her corporate world, someone who, according to her social media, truly understands what matters in life. My business flourished. Clients who'd heard whispers of what happened sought me out, intrigued by an event planner with enough backbone to walk away from family who didn't value her. My calendar filled with couples who wanted someone who wouldn't compromise their vision or their dignity for anyone. Kevin and I eventually found our way to a civil relationship, built on new understanding rather than old assumptions. He learned that competence deserves respect, regardless of family ties. I learned that love without respect is just manipulation wearing a prettier mask. The lesson wasn't about cutting off family, but about teaching them how to treat you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's worst impulses, even when, especially when, that someone is family. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, know this: your worth isn't determined by their recognition. Sometimes the people closest to us are the last to see our value, blinded by familiarity or threatened by our growth. But you don't have to shrink to fit their comfort zone. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.